Hey everybody, so check out how we went from that to that. This is using what's called the Claramarble technique, and this is using alcohol dyes and some metallic mica powders mixed in with 91% isopropyl alcohol. But you have to have a smooth, slick surface, and that's what I'm doing here is kind of prepping the surface and getting ready to apply that technique. And here we go. So those little bottles have 91% isopropyl alcohol. Some have some epoxy dyes mixed in them. Some have mica powders mixed in them. And there's so many different color combinations that you can come up with, so many different ways that you can apply this technique. And using a hairdryer, just any kind of compact hairdryer, you can use it on the low setting, you can use it on the high setting, you can blow the alcohol dyes from left to right, you can come down over the top. And what I'm doing here with this particular design, as you can see, I'm coming over the top because that's the kind of look I want to get. I'm not looking for kind of those linear type lines. I'm looking for more of, you might call it abstract. And then I want to make sure that everything blends together so you can layer the colors. There's so many different ways that you can apply this technique to get it the way that you like it. And that gold in there is what really, really sets this off and takes it to another level. Now we have to prep this for a flood coat. So here's how we do it. Okay, so once you have applied your Claramarble technique using alcohol dyes, you have to remember that you're mixing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol with your alumilite dyes. So when the alcohol evaporates, you're left with dye on the surface. Same thing with the mica powders. Once the alcohol evaporates, you're simply left with mica powders on the surface. If I were to wipe this off, I would smear the whole entire thing. So we need to seal that down before putting on a clear flood coat. If we were to put a clear flood coat over the top of this, it could very possibly reactivate those dyes and those mica powders and then cause that whole design to smear. So we have options with how we seal that. My first choice would be Krylon's UV archival spray. Second choice, if I can't find that, is Krylon's UV resistant clear. And you always want to make sure you're using matte, as it says right there on the cap. And this one as well is the matte. If you use a gloss, semi-gloss, or anything besides matte, it could also reactivate those mica powders and dyes. My last choice, but it's still going to be just as effective, is going to be the Rust-Oleum matte clear spray paint. So I'm going to be using the UV resistant because that's the one I have on hand. That one, I don't think there's enough in there. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now we're only want to apply very, very light coats. I don't want to put it on wet. All I'm looking to do is just, again, seal down that surface. So I'm going to use very, very light dusting coats. I want to make sure I get my edges because that epoxy is going to wrap around those edges. You can see I'm going again with very, very light dusting coats. So light that that's going to dry here in just a couple minutes, and then I'll be able to put on another coat. Usually 2 to 3 coats is sufficient. If I want to test it, I can take a paper towel and I can just blot it in some areas, and as long as I'm not getting color on my paper towel, I know that I have those colors sealed down and I'm ready for my flood coat. All right, so now it's time to apply a flood coat. Now that the clear matte spray paint has dried, surface has been sealed, and I did add just a little bit of diamond dust into the clear coat because I think that'll add just a little bit of a bling to it. And this is going to be a clock. I'm using Stone Coat Epoxy, which is a 1-to-1 ratio mixture, and I'm using 3 ounces per square foot, and I'm going to use my hand. I'm just going to get that all the way around the surface and address my edges as well. Then I'm going to torch that out and give that a chance to self-level. As I always suggest when applying a clear coat, to always torch in 2 different directions. If you only torch in one direction, there's a possibility that you could leave some micro bubbles in there. And then when those micro bubbles eventually pop, the epoxy resin may be too set up at that point to self-level. So if there's a micro bubble that you missed and it pops and it cannot self-level, you'll be able to see that. It'll look like a divot. So if you get divots in your flood coat, that's usually why is not getting the clear coat adequately torched. Wow, that looks amazing. That looks amazing. Wow, the depth in that is crazy cool. And that just a little bit of diamond dust. A little bit goes a really long ways, but in here, looks like I added just the right amount, and it just adds just a little bit of bling. All right, now let's do a flyover and let's take a look at this thing. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. And as always, in person is twice of what you're seeing on camera. And even on camera, it looks awesome. So that gold is what's called a 007. That is a mica powder. Absolutely looks amazing and will always take a piece to another level. The blues and the grays that are in there really, really go together. And you can see the little bit of sparkle in there. It looks a little bit different on film, but that's a little bit of diamond dust that I added that bling. On those areas of the white, to me, instead of covering the entire piece with that design, leaving some of that white, I think really, really helps the entire piece also. But you can see when you get to that gold, how when the light reflects off of it, how it just, again, I personally just feel it takes it to another level. It is really, really cool. So that turns out really nice. That is an 18-inch round. That's going to end up being a clock. Thanks everybody for watching. Please leave me some comments down below. And if you have not yet, please subscribe. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next video.